In this episode of the Winded Podcast, Olivia King shares her journey from being a Division I goalie to becoming a content creator and broadcaster. She discusses the importance of women's hockey, the challenges faced by female athletes, and her passion for creative expression in sports. Olivia reflects on her experience in the media, the impact of the PWHL, and the unique culture surrounding goalies. The conversation also touches on the growth of women's sports, the significance of the Olympics, and Olivia's aspirations for the future. The Winded Podcast starts now. Welcome back to the Winded Podcast. I'm your host, Seamus Sullivan, and continuing our run of talking to interesting women in sports and content creation, I have Olivia King on the show today. Olivia is a former D1 athlete, content creator, broadcaster, model, actress, and podcaster with her Talk Goalie to Me podcast. And just so I could keep that all straight, I actually wrote it down on the back of a very long TJ Maxx receipt. So very impressive resume you have there, Olivia. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on.
Of course, of course. So let's just get right into it. You are a former goalie, or you're not former. You're a goalie is a goalie by heart. You're always a goalie. Can't take that out of you. But you
Yeah.
played for Minnesota. So why don't you talk a little bit about your time at Minnesota?
Yeah. So I spent my undergrad at Minnesota. I was there for 4 years. And then with COVID and redshirt and everything, I went and I played my 5th year at the University of St. Thomas. And then through injury and stuff like that, I wound up back at the U the next year, my 6th year, and just finished I added a minor to my undergrad, which I didn't know was possible after you finish your master's degree. But, yeah, so it was good. I loved college hockey because it's such an outlet. You get to meet so many different people and make a lot of different connections, which is what I always loved about hockey. I think that's the most important thing is just being able to build those relationships and take those through the rest of your life. But this is my first full year out. So it's been a little bit weird, but obviously, like, I work in the hockey space, I'm at the rink constantly, so I think that helps a lot.
Yeah, I'm sure it's kind of like a culture shock of you grow up, you spend your whole life and it's like this time of the year I'm going to be doing this, and for it to be the first year without that, it's got to be a little jarring, but luckily you seem to have enough to keep you busy.
Yeah, I do a lot of different things, so it definitely keeps me super busy, which I'm super thankful for. I love it, I love to stay busy. I feel like when I'm not busy is when I'm not very productive.
I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. So you grew up in Minnesota as well, right?
Yes, I grew up in Brainerd, Minnesota, which is up north, about 2.5 hours from the cities. I actually grew up in Garrison, which is a really, really small town. It's like a town of 200 people. And then the closest high school was Brainerd. So that's where I went to high school. I played in the Minnesota State High School League all the way through. We went to a few state tournaments my junior, senior year, thanks to those teams, which was really, really fun. And we've got the boys' state high school tournament here this weekend in Minnesota. So definitely a playoff hockey around here.
That is the Minnesota tournament is just electric. It gets like national attention as it should. Well, yeah, so I grew up in Massachusetts, and I like to think that we're hockey crazy around here, but I don't think it holds a candle to Minnesota and what hockey means to Minnesota. Why don't you talk a little bit about like how just ingrained in the culture hockey is?
Oh my gosh. I mean, it's crazy from growing up in such a small town and seeing kind of that side of hockey where everybody plays hockey or has tried to play hockey at some point in their life. It's like how football is to the South.
Mhm.
That's how hockey is to Minnesota. And I think that the coolest part is the women's hockey here in Minnesota because it's huge. I mean, we have so many teams in the WCHA playing, in playing Division I hockey here, Bemidji, Mankato, the Gophers, St. Thomas, and then and Duluth. And we also have, like the Minnesota Frost now, which is super cool. There's just a lot more women that you can look up to as a young girl here and watch them play hockey and be like, "Oh, I wanna play varsity hockey," or different things like that. So, I think that's really cool, and, I mean, my dad played hockey in high school, my brothers played hockey, was a big reason why I initially got into it, and then I was lucky enough to grow up in an era where it was kinda women and girls hockey all the way through. I mean, I played boys hockey when I was really, really little, but that's about it. And we'd play outside on the pond, I mean, constantly. My dad built a rink in our backyard. So hockey was always super easily accessible, which most people can't say that. So we're pretty lucky here for that because of that.
Yeah, I grew up playing, and I wish that I got to play more on the pond. It just the weather was not consistent enough for the freezing like it does in, like, Minnesota or Wisconsin, any of those areas. But there's nothing like pond hockey and playing outside, and I do have just very great memories of doing that. I wanna talk about kind of how you've transitioned, you obviously you still have your connections to hockey, but doing more of the on-camera stuff, the content, your podcast, do you find that being on camera is something that has come natural to you, or is it something that you've kind of learned to adjust to?
It's so funny because I actually went and I got my master's in law. Like, my plan was always to go back and get my JD. And then last winter, when I was playing for the Gophers again, my high school team asked me to color commentate for their Hockey Day Minnesota, and I'd never done it before, and I was kind of like, I don't know, but I'll give it a try. I'll give it a shot." And that was when I initially began kinda doing my short form video too. I'd never really done that or posted anything like that. I was a little bit embarrassed. I feel like that's how most people start. And so last winter, that's kinda when I started doing that, and I tried color for the first time, and that was just on radio, but I left that game, and I was like, "That's the most fun I've ever had." That was it was just cool and something super different. I feel like I've always been a creative person, but within hockey, it's hard to kinda let that shine and know what to do with it because I feel like that's just very different. And so, kinda that's when everything started to pick up and I started to do more things in front of the camera. I broadcast for the Gopher women's team now, and, like, last weekend, did I did 3 games. They've their first round of playoffs, 3-game series. I did all those games sideline, and then sometimes I'll do color for them as well. So, like, this Thursday, they're playing in the Frozen Face-Off. I'll do color on Thursday night for them at 7:30. But, yeah, it's been really fun. I've been in quite a few national commercials for, different brands, and that's something totally different in itself, but it's definitely a different career path, and I think that was something that was really good for me in my transition from hockey to work because I was having trouble really finding what I wanted to do, and short form content and broadcasting and all these different things were stuff that I loved, and it was almost like a hobby to me. And when I was looking for a job, I was like, none of this really, I feel like fits me and my personality. And you know what? I'm just gonna go out on a limb and find something that I really love and make it work for me, even though it's different. I remember calling my grandpa when I first started doing all this stuff, and he was like, "When are you gonna get a real job?" That's a really good question.
Yeah, I'm putting that off as long as I can.
Exactly. But I absolutely love what I do now, and I mean, sports is entertainment, and so I feel like it's just, like, bringing the creative side to sports. There's so much creativity in, producing movies and producing music and all these different things, and I feel like people lose sight that, like, sports is entertainment and, like, you can bring that side to sports as well, and that is valuable, and so that's kind of the gist of, like, why I do what I do now. I love my podcast because I think it's, like, super fun to give other people a platform to tell their story, just like you do. I think it's awesome to make those connections and meet a bunch of different people. And so, yeah, it's pretty cool. I could give you a million reasons why I
Yeah.
love what I do, but I feel like the main point is that it doesn't feel like work to me.
Yes.
And so, that's why like I everyone's like all my friends are you work like every day. I'm like, it doesn't really feel like work though.
Yeah.
It's just fun.
No, it's as long as you're having fun, it really doesn't feel like work. I couldn't agree more with the being able to let people tell their story and meeting new people. I think it's great, having you on. And I was very interested in the fact that you are a goalie and you have a goalie podcast because in all the, interviews that I've done with high school hockey players, it's always the goalie that's like the wild card. And I know it's kind of like overstated with them being like crazy or weird or something like that. And there's an element of truth there, but there's just so much personality that comes with that position. So I think your podcast about featuring that and putting those personalities on display is great.
Yeah, it's definitely a niche. People always be like, "It's so niche." I'm like, "But it's really what I love." I love hockey, obviously, but I was always really, really passionate about goalie. And you're right. I think it's so funny to have all those big personalities on the podcast because they're just funny. And the cliche of people saying like goalies are weird. Unfortunately, I've found that to be true in most cases, which is perfect because it keeps the conversation going. So I love it. But yeah, I mean, I grew up playing goalie almost all the way through. It was something I really loved. So transitioning kind of my passion from playing into my passion for the rest of my life, which is like working in media and doing all these things is pretty cool. I'm lucky to kind of have found that.
Yeah, it's funny when you look at some of your content and it's like you have such a wide range of stuff and it's funny like there's times I'm like that she's a goalie. Like it's like you just like there's times where I'm like I just couldn't imagine you being a goalie. It is funny, but that kind of plays into it. It's like there's so many levels of personality when it comes to that position.
Yeah. And it is funny because like being out of college, it's like transitioning into a different chapter of my life too. So trying to find where that fits like with my content in the beginning was kind of funny because I was sharing more about my actual life rather than just like my sports career,
Mhm.
which you have to like toe the line of like what you deem as okay to post on the internet,
Yeah.
at that point.
Yep.
But I feel like I'm pretty open. And I feel like a reason for that is when I was a kid and like you ask somebody about your job or you ask somebody about what you do or things like that, and people can be kind of reserved, especially I find in the media realm of things, because that's either because, they love their job, they don't wanna lose their job to somebody new, or, they just don't have time to do those things, don't know how to kinda share their journey of what they do, and so I was like, "You know what, I never wanna be that person that's, like, vague." Like, I always wanna help when I can or inform someone if they're interested in, like, something that I do, whether it be, just my podcast or just my broadcasting or my content creation or whatever it is. It's kind of fun to, like, take people along with me to do things like that because if they wanna do that eventually, it might be, like, an eye opener to see, like, "Oh, that's how it really is done."
Yeah.
So that's kind of fun. And then all like the trends and like the other stuff is just like I feel like that's more just like me being me. I don't know. Like they're just easy to make because um, like they're just funny or whatever it is.
Do you find it difficult on the social media side of it to toe the line of, like, being taken seriously versus being funny and relatable?
Think especially like as a woman, especially doing my broadcasting and things like that. I think a lot of the time when people meet me and they really get to know me, they're like, "Oh, you're different than I thought." And I'm like, I feel like I'm pretty approachable. Like, and I think my podcast has helped a lot with that because you can hear me have conversations. Like, much more real than just seeing, little short form videos of whatever it may be. And I feel like I share my life maybe for different reasons than other people do. I just do it because I genuinely love like doing the short form video. It's really fun to me. It's almost like a diary of some
Yeah.
sorts. Like I just post like every day kind of something about my life, and it's just fun for me because it's something I like to do. So yeah, I think sometimes it could get a little hairy, like, I think my law background helps a lot with that, like, if I'm working with a brand or I'm working with a company in any way, like, reading through contracts and doing stuff like that is something that's really normal to me, and kinda reading the fine print so people don't really, like, take advantage of you. I think that's something that is really important in what I do because I kind of freelance for everyone.
Yeah. You've kind of hinted at the brand deals and stuff like that and the modeling. Was that something that you actively pursued, or did somebody come find you? How did you get into that side of your career?
Yeah, that's kind of different. So it's so funny. So I have a few different like agencies and they all are for like different things. But when I do my modeling or my acting, a lot of the times that is through my agency that does that specifically. So they might not necessarily be using my name, image, and likeness to promote a product. But if I'm working with, someone on a social media campaign or something like that, obviously, most of the time they are using my name, image, or likeness or whatever that may be. So there's kind of like different buckets to what I do, but they all help me get a little bit more comfortable in front of the camera, which is always good.
Yes. In this line of work for sure.
Yeah. I feel like in the beginning, like you asked earlier, was that ever weird for me? I feel like not on, like, my phone and, like, doing my own content, but obviously when you start to see yourself in front of the camera on, like, a bigger scale, like, when I was first started doing the commercials and started doing different, like, acting projects like that, I was like, "Oh, this is kind of weird. That's me." But but that has been really fun because it's just, like, super different. I like everything I do because I feel like I learned so much. Like, even my podcast, like, I produce my whole podcast, and, I've never done long form content before this, so that's been really good for me to learn. It's just, like, adding a new tool, like, to my tool belt, like, constantly, and that's what's super important to me right now.
Yeah, I bet it's impressive that you do the whole production. I do my own stuff, very small production over here, but it's enjoy being as hands-on to it, and if I become bigger and could get people involved, I almost don't know if I would want to because I like the whole process of, like, listening back to the interview and doing the whole thing and getting it ready and then hitting publish. It's all very satisfying.
My gosh, like, the end is super satisfying when you finally finish. I most of the time have people, like, in person, and then our cameras, like, are not synced to our sound, like, I have to sync everything, and then, like, I clip everything. I have, like, 3 camera angles. At the beginning, it couldn't have been more frustrating. Like, I feel like I would delete my whole project, like, 4 times before I finally would get it right accidentally. But now I really, really actually like it. Like, it's kind of fun.
Yeah, I'm trying to grow into doing in-person stuff and doing like, adding more of a production to it, but it is very intimidating because it is, like, a webcam is easy, you throw it up and hit record and go, but when it comes to all the other there's so many more things that can go wrong with it and so many more layers to it, so the fact you do all that is very impressive.
I've had quite a few things go wrong, so that's okay.
When I was going through your content, I saw some older videos of you doing, like, the walk-in, like, before a game, the walk-in. How much fun were those to do with your teammates and just, like, did you know, like, "I gotta put on, like, my best outfit for this because I know this is gonna be recorded?" Like, what was the kinda process behind that?
I feel like that was my first content I really ever shared, and that kind of, like, took off because that was just something I really love. Like, I would always go, like, all out for game day outfits,
Yeah.
and so I was like, "You know what? Like, why don't we just make the fun intro videos?" You see everybody else do them in sports, especially professional sports.
Mhm.
So I was like, "I'm gonna take the reins on this one, and we're gonna start making walk-in videos," and I had someone who was a little bit older than me. I think she was about 2 years older than me, and she used to do them on our team, and it was always super fun, and then when she left, we just never did them again. And so that's kinda why I started it up again. It just was something that was fun, and the girls liked it, and, we get super dressed up and walk to the rink, obviously, but how many people see that? Not very many, just us, basically.
Yep.
And so, it was just a fun way to kinda showcase our outfits, and the best part about it was all the funny comments we would get. Like, people would be like, "Why don't you go through and delete the ones where they're just being rude?" I'm like, "No, because I feel like that really shows you what women in sports are sometimes, like, treated like." Like, it's just like, it's not that big of a deal. Men, especially, like, in the NFL, and now, like, the NHL, since they've changed the rules a little bit for what they can walk in with, it's like they dress the same way. They go all out and, you can't tell me that they don't. It's obviously not every guy, but just like in the PWHL, like, it's not every woman that, you know, goes all out, but a lot of them do. And so, yeah, I think it was just a fun way to, like, highlight our team and showcase kinda everyone's individuality.
Definitely, and, they're great videos, and they almost there was, like, an attitude where I'm like, they won this game, like, you could just tell, like, walking in, like, "Oh, yeah, Olivia didn't let in any goals on this game, the way she walked in with that outfit on." It's like in Boston, like the big like fashion go like that everybody pays attention to is David Pastrnak and when he walks into and there's times where, I'll follow the Bruins Twitter account and they'll show Pasta walking in. I'm like, "Oh, he's scoring twice tonight." Like with
He's locked in.
yeah, he's wearing a suit like that. He's got the hat, he's got the whole thing like he's locked in. And almost always it's the crazier the suit he wears, the better game he has. So there's something
I
to
love it.
that. There's something
Look
to that.
good. Hey, look good, feel good, play good. It's
There's a
true.
reason why people say that.
Yeah, and we would always get dressed, and then, yeah, we have our 5 minutes in our outfits, and that's it when we walk over to the rink, so I was like, "You know what? We're gonna make our 5 minutes worth it." So we're gonna do walk-in videos.
Love it.
And it's
You
like
met
2 over 2 hours before the game, so it's not like I'm sitting there, like, editing before the game. I just save them videos for later, and I would edit it later.
yeah, there's probably people in the comments that think that you should be locked in or, like, paying getting ready for the game, and it's not that serious.
I'm like, "It's okay. I can just set the phone up, we'll take the videos, and then I'll edit it tomorrow." That was kinda how it was, but people are like, "You should be focused on your
Yeah,
game."
of
I'm like, "Don't
course.
worry. Don't
Yeah.
worry, we were."
You, you did bring up kind of what it's like to be a woman in sports and kind of, like, rude comments, disrespectful type stuff. Do you feel that that's gotten any better? Is it less loud? Kind of how do you feel about the state of obviously there's always gonna be some element of just idiots and saying things, but you seem to not let that bother you, especially if people are saying, "Oh, why don't you delete those?" and you leave them in.
Think obviously, I think at any level of anything, there's gonna be something like that, somebody who's has something to say, but I grew up with all boys, like, all brothers. Most of the time, I feel like I think people are joking, like, they're being sarcastic, like, just in, like, a joking way, so I'm like, "Whatever," like, it doesn't really bother me, I just kinda push it to the side, and so, it almost is a little bit funny to me. I'm like, "Okay, obviously you care about women's sports, like, you care enough to stop and comment, or you care enough to say something to me in person or whatever that may be," but I I don't really try to focus on those things. I think it's cool that we have so many outlets for women to work in sports now. Like there's so much more opportunity, especially in the hockey world with the PWHL growing and the expansion this year. So that's really exciting and that's kind of what I try to focus on. I feel like I kind of made my own category with like what I do for work And so I try to give people like the benefit of the doubt when we do talk about it because I feel like they often just don't really understand what I do for work. And after a conversation, I think people are really open minded and they kind of see the value in it. So I feel like that's kind of where I'm at. Like obviously I've heard it. We've all heard it. I heard it when I was an athlete, when I was playing still. And, I hear it now quite often, but I feel like it's a confidence thing where it's like, can kind of just brush it off and be like, well, I understand where you're coming from, but I see my value in this and, what I bring to the table. So you can't tell me that, like that's not doing anything. Like I could show you, um, whether that be like analytics, like social media wise, whether that be, my broadcasts or whatever it may be. I'd be like, well, here's the proof,
Yeah.
like it's working. I think once you sit down and have a truly like honest conversation with someone, most of the time, if they're open to something like that, then they're like, okay, I was wrong. Like I totally get it now,
Yeah.
you know?
That's a great mindset to have where it's like, and if they're not open to it, then that's on them. That's not
Yeah.
anything that you're doing wrong. What did you think of the Olympics and both men and women, but specifically the women? Did you have any former teammates on the team?
Oh yeah, I did. Taylor Heisey, Grace Sumwinkle, Abby Murphy. I actually played with quite a few people on that team, so it was super weird to see like your close friends just watching them on TV in the Olympics. It was awesome, and I had a few that played in the last Olympics too, so this wasn't like the first go around, but it was so funny. I would like send them videos of them on the TV, like yearbook mom, like I'm like taking videos of their TV. It's like they need those videos.
Yeah.
Like they're at the Olympics.
It's like the people at the wedding with the cameras out when there's a full camera crew.
Yes, they're like it says like no phone service and then everybody's like standing.
Yeah, of course,
But
everybody.
yeah, it was so awesome to watch them. I mean, how incredible is it that, not only the women won, but the men did too. And the women were obviously like highly favored going into the Olympics because of the rivalry series and, like they won every game and they had so much offensive power this time. So it was no surprise, but it was crazy. Like they only let 2 goals in whole tournament. That's absolutely wild. And so, yeah, it was really fun to watch the Olympics this year, and the men too, obviously, they weren't favored to win, and so in both Olympic, like, finals, gold medal games were absolutely crazy games, so that was awesome.
Unreal. Hillary Knight is just a different kind of human. I mean, the fact that what was it, 5 Olympics that she did, all-time goals, all-time points, and then to be in that moment down when they're the favorites and to score that goal to send it to overtime. It's like you couldn't, like, make up, like, an athlete being that dialed in the moment than her.
No, absolutely crazy. T I was like, "Oh, this is her last Olympics, I think," and someone was like, "No, she said that, like, not for sure," or whatever, and I was like, "Oh, okay. I
Yeah,
guess
I
we'll
said
see."
on an episode I did right after the Olympics talking about it, and I said in the moment, I was like, "I assume it's her last Olympics," and then, like, after I said it, I was like, I wouldn't bet against her not coming back." I mean, she's still an elite player. 4 years is a long time, but also not that long, like, who says she's not gonna be one of the best 25 women in the United States at that time still?
Yeah, and I think it also is so nice for them that now the Olympics is not the only stage that they can showcase their skill on, like, they have the PWHL, so the women who are no longer in college have something to go back to, which, wasn't the case. It didn't used to be the case, so that's, like, so nice, like, she can go back, play in the PWHL, which is super high level, play there for 4 years, have a normal salary, and, play professional hockey and then, potentially try out for the next Olympics. And then, if you don't make it, you can still play in the PWHL. Like she could still continue to play in the PW for however long she wanted to, which is nice.
Yeah. What was that like? Because obviously the league came about while you were in school. What was that like being on a women's hockey team when that was announced that the league was gonna be a thing, and then
I
Minnesota was gonna get a team?
I think it was really exciting for everyone, but it was almost like, "Is this legit or is this not?" Because, obviously before that, there was 2 professional leagues. One bought the other one, and then that's kinda how the PWHL came to be. But there was so much uncertainty in between the buying of the other league, and there was just no league for a while. So, that was super scary for people because it was like, what is the next step if they wanted to continue to play hockey? And we obviously, like, at the U had quite a few people go on and play professionally. So, that uncertainty was a little scary for a lot of people. But, the growth of the league now is amazing, and I feel like there's so many people I talk to who are currently playing in college who are like, "Yeah, I'm gonna enter my name in the draft and just see if it works out." And, other people I talk to who are like, "I'm gonna play hockey for the next 10 years. That's my career." Which, as a freshman, me going into college, nobody would say that
Yeah.
because that just wasn't a possibility. It was like, "I might try to go play in Europe. I'm not sure. I might play here for a little bit, maybe like a year or 2, and then start my full-time job." So, now it's nice that people can dream of, playing hockey for their full-time job, which is how it should be. That's how it is for men and how it's been for a long time. So, it's kind of nice that you can finally say that and it's not a joke or it's not
Yeah.
something that people can be like, "That's not a job." Like, it is, and they make money doing it, and they love it, and that's
And it's a
most of
great
it.
product.
So it really is. It's super fun to watch, and it'll just continue to grow over the next, like, 10 years. I can't imagine how much bigger it's gonna get and how much the talent will improve. So, it's exciting.
It's funny, I was just thinking back to a couple weeks ago, I had Elena Callius, who is the arena host for the Boston Fleet on, and I feel like I manifested talking to you because described the scenario of girls going off to college, not without this league existing, and by the time they came out of college, there was actually a place for them to go besides just the small number of people that would be eligible for the Olympics that was only every 4 years, or the other international tournaments that would pop up. So I'm glad that I was able to get your perspective on what that was like to kind of see that come to fruition and have now as girls grow up and girls that are in high school now, have a little bit more certainty like, oh, I can if if I'm dedicated enough and good enough and I can make this work beyond just high school or beyond college.
I think a lot of people in the in between too were almost, like, sad. Like, "Oh, maybe I would've tried a little bit harder if I would've known that there was a pro league." I talked to a lot of people who said that or who had, stopped playing hockey, like, 2 years ago. Like, how unfortunate for those people who could have been good enough to play in the league, maybe weren't that Olympic level, but just missed the mark by a few years and are now already in their full-time job, been out of the game for too long to come back. I have friends who are in that position. I think that's, like, super unfortunate, but, I think that's why it will take the league. The league is amazing right now, but with this expansion, like, could potentially be, like, quite a big expansion. Like, 4 teams is a lot,
But yeah,
you know? And so to wait until we're able to get kind of like all of the really, really high end talent, like coming out of college, it's going to take a few years because how can you expect to fill 4 teams? I think, I hope that it doesn't just like decimate the Euro leagues, but they're obviously going to need to draw players from wherever they can find them, the best people. And so, yeah, it is a little different with this expansion coming up, but it's also super cool. And it'll give room for a lot more goalies to be in the league because most of the goalies now are, there's not very many. And so most of them are national team goalies, which is amazing. But it kind of leaves no room for the other people who are, super good, super high end, but maybe are not on that national team roster anymore or, something like that. So in Minnesota, we're lucky. We have, Hensley and Rooney, who used to be the Olympic goalies and, now aren't, but still super high end goalies. So that they're super fun to watch. And that's kind of who I usually watch. So
Are you still training? I want to see the Olivia King come back in the PWHL.
I don't know about that. People ask me all the time. They're like, "Are you gonna declare for the draft?" I'm like, "What? No." Like, I love hockey, and I still love playing hockey. Like, I feel like this winter and stuff, I did a lot of pickup hockey, but I was always forward.
Yeah.
Like, just maybe it's just too soon or, I don't know. I've gotten in my goalie pads a few times, but it's nice to take a little bit of a break, but recently I have definitely been thinking about it, like, I miss it. I was, like, rinkside all weekend at the Gopher women's games, obviously, and I was like, "Oh, like, I'm kinda missing it." Like, not not just the hockey, but, like, actually playing goalie. So, I think this spring I might have to really give it more time and maybe hop in there a few times, we'll see. It also scares me because when you haven't played goalie for a while, you're really sore.
I bet.
But it's nice that I'm around it so much, so
Yes.
I definitely get my fix in.
That's great. You mentioned your pads. I want to ask you about the picture that I saw of you in the pink hearts pads. Are those an actual set that you have that you use, or was
Oh,
that
yeah.
a shoot?
Oh, yeah, they're over there.
Is that your main set?
Yeah, that's my main set now. I wanted something that was super, super flashy because I think it's just fun. I mean, why not? And now that I'm out of college and stuff, I can do whatever I wanted. And I work really closely with Vaughn. I do some like social media stuff for them and things like that. So I brought it up to them and I was like, I really want to do something crazy, something like super eye-catching. Obviously, like you see it out on the rink or you see it, on social media or things like that. And you're like, oh my
The
gosh,
pictures are great. The pictures are
thank
unreal.
you. You're like, "Oh my gosh, I've never seen something like that." And so that's why I did it initially. Some people love it and some people absolutely hate it. It just depends. Some people are like, "This is hockey, period." I'm like, "Okay, like it's still hockey. It's just fun." And I feel like a lot of people who like play beer league and things like that, like they have really fun crazy sets too because it's just like you don't have like a team anymore.
Oh yeah.
So you can kind of do
Everybody's
whatever you want.
mismatched anyways, so why not really lean into it? I think it's great.
Exactly. So, yeah, that was a super fun process, and it was just crazy. I'm always dreaming of, like, my next set. I do love, like, the OG Brown, old school stuff, but, yeah, I did the absolute opposite of that, so
Your set with the Gophers was awesome too. I was always jealous as a player of the flexibility and the creativity that goalies would be able to have with their pads that, obviously stay within the team colors, but it's a little bit more of a statement than like what like gloves can be and stuff like that. And that, never mind the helmets. The helmets are a whole nother thing. I'm sure you enjoyed, again, your Gopher helmet was awesome. Just being able to like design what you want on it is really cool.
yeah, that's one of the best parts about playing goalie, and I think that was why I loved goalie so much because I was like, "Oh, like, I can be creative in this way," and goalie is such an individual position within a team sport. Like you're doing something completely different than the rest of the team. So in that way, it's super creative too. Like you can bring your own personality to the position. But yeah, designing the helmets and designing the pads were top of my list for the most fun part about playing goalie.
Where in all of sports, where do you rank goalie as far as challenging, most important kind of all the sports, all positions?
That's a great question. I hear so many people say that goalie is the hardest position in all of sports. But since I play goalie, that just feels so wrong to say. Like, yeah,
I
goalie is
was
the
hoping
hardest
you'd say
position
it's
in
the hardest.
sports, you know? But I will say it's definitely up there. I mean, it's like QBs, goalies, pitchers, like those are probably my top 3 for sure.
The one-off positions, definitely. It's funny,
Yeah.
I maybe I just never thought about it too deeply, and I think I've just always just taken what society says that quarterback is the toughest position in sport and never really put any thought to it. But I did see a podcast clip where, and it was a hockey podcast, so they were a little biased, but they were just all like, it's goalie. It has to be goalie. And you look at the difference that like Connor Hellebuck made in the, in the gold medal game specifically, or Aaron Franklin, the whole Olympics, only allowing 2 goals. You really can put the team on your back in a way that like other positions in other sports you just can't do.
Yeah. And it's more so like your own, just like I said, like your creativity. It's like your own personal style of goalie. Like nobody's telling you exactly what to do. Like they can coach you and they can do all these things, but they're not feeding you plays like football. Like you need to remember this play. It's like hockey's not like that. Hockey is such a fast moving game. And so I think that definitely plays into it. But yeah, goalies can definitely steal the show. And this Olympics proved that. Like, if you're on your game, I mean, if you don't let any goals in, your team wins the game.
Yeah, there's
Like,
no way around it.
and that's what my dad would always say, be like, "Well, if you didn't let a goal in, you would have won." Like, doesn't matter anything about your team. So I'm like, "Yeah, I guess, yeah, well," but so I think that's kind of a good way to think about it. Like, you can definitely steal the show, just like like Aaron Frankel did, and those Olympic goalies. Like, if you don't let any goals in, you have to win.
I mean, there's literally no way around it. The game will keep going until somebody lets one in. If you don't, you win. It's as
Exactly.
simple as that. Back to your podcast, Talk Goalie to me. Who would be at the top of your list of guests that you would like to have on?
That's so funny because I just talked about this in one of my last episodes, which is horrible. They asked me who my dream guest would be. Why didn't I say it was them? I was like, "Oh, Flurry." It was like immediate reaction. I was like, "Oh, Flurry, of course." I was like,
I
"Wait,
mean,
I
it's a
can't."
genuine answer. Why?
I'm like, "'Cause I already got you.
Yeah,
That's why."
yeah.
But yeah, Flurry would definitely be one of my favorites who I would want on because for one, he's hilarious.
Yes.
And for 2, he ended his career with the Wild. He plans to, stay in Minnesota for a long time. His family, I know, is like plays hockey in the Edina Association and things like that. So I just think it's a cool story. Like a lot of people come here and play hockey here and never leave with their family because I think they realize like this is a cool environment and I want my kids to grow up and play hockey here. I think that's like a cool part of his story too. And I mean, he played in the league for, oh my gosh, just a crazy amount of time from when he was
Forever.
literally a kid to, all the way through. And that's just an awesome story too. But I was like, I need to give it a little more time. I think if he sat in the chair next to me right now, I would be like fangirling a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe I need to become more of an adult. No,
Overrated.
exactly. But I was like, maybe he'll be the season finale or something eventually. But he would definitely be like my white whale, like someone I would love to have on eventually.
Is
So we'll see.
he is he like your kind of top goalie that you grew up and that was like that was it when you thought that's the goalie?
I really like Flurry, I really like Quick, and then I have a lot of, like, women's goalies who I looked up to a lot, like Nora Ratty, she played for the Gophers, she now coaches for St. Cloud, but she played for Team Finland for a long time, she went to countless Olympics, she was All-American at the U, and she was around, like, the same size as me, so a little bit smaller, so it was nice to watch somebody who it was realistic for me to be able to say, "I wanna play like that person," because, I mean, you watch the NHL and I'm not doing the same I'm not doing the same things as they can do because it just doesn't make sense for, how much smaller I am or the shot difference, um, and so I think in both ways, it's important to watch, like, every level of hockey, like, watching hockey makes you a better hockey player, those are just the facts, but, watching someone who is more similar to me, I think was a little bit more helpful to me sometimes, and watching the NHL guys, you can pick up a lot from them too, but it's just, like, situationally, it's different, like, they can be down on their post and their head is above the crossbar. That's not what it looks like for me, so
How tall are you?
I'm 5'5.5". I'm 5'6". That's what I tell people. But yeah, not tiny, but not
Yeah,
huge. So
yeah.
not 6'4" like those guys are.
Yeah, it's a different approach for you, I'm sure. It's a lot more your angles, it's almost more impressive. It's the same size net and your body is covering up less of it.
Yeah. So I think it's just like figuring out what movement makes sense for you and kind of how that looks. And sometimes it is similar to the NHL guys, but most of the time it is definitely a little bit different. But their tracking and stuff like that's obviously the same and different stuff like that. So yeah, I love to like analyze like the difference between like what a woman's goalie would do in that situation versus like what an NHL guy would do. Just because, both can be right, both can save the puck, but it may just be different because of their size. And same goes for like high school age boys. Like some high school age boys are that big and some are not even close. So
Yeah, I've covered high school hockey here in Massachusetts, and the high school age kids, there is a huge size difference based on, how old they are and growth, and that's like when people are at their, they're growing. And it always impressed me when you'd see like a goalie who was like 5'4", 5'5", and like everybody else on the ice is like 6 feet, and they just can still there's no limit to it. Like if you play the position right, like you can be that size and still be successful.
I think that's the fun part about youth sports, like high school sports, because you see such a variety of goalies and honestly, like forwards, defense, like anyone, like everybody's so different and they may have like super different dreams for their future. Like they might not want to play college hockey. They might want to play a different sport or, you know, focus on their career or different things like that. So that's the fun part about high school hockey is you see such a variety of kids, personalities too. And like I coach high school now. And so it's fun to like see that and like personalize a training plan for somebody like that, whether it be, like how big they are, how small they are, or their personality, how they learn better, whether you're like a visual learner or not. And so I think that's been really fun too.
Yeah, I am looking forward to keeping track of the Minnesota State Championship. Between the hair, obviously the hairstyles are a huge thing that get a ton of attention, but it seems like I mean the Excel Center goes absolutely nuts. The state championships here in Boston are at TD Garden, and I was there last year for them, and it was super exciting, and the place fills up, and it's crazy to see that for high school. But the energy is unreal at that Excel Center. Like, it looks crazier than Wild Games. It's nuts.
It's absolutely nuts. It's full. It's sold out. Like
All the way up to
it's
the
yes.
nosebleeds.
Yes, it's absolutely wild. And it's so cool to see so much like youth involvement and like school involvement within the Stay High School League. Like everybody is there and their communities are all there. So I love that. I'm really, really excited. And then they have like the hockey expo like going on and Friday and Saturday, like all day. And so it's nice and kind of fun to meet like a lot of vendors and walk around, see like what the new thing is in hockey right now. There's always something. And so yeah, it's crazy, and it's just a cool environment, like, for those kids as well, like, you remember that for the rest of your life, like, if you were got the opportunity to go to a state tournament,
Yeah.
and it's nice that the community, like, buys in so much to make it
Oh, yeah.
special for them, and so that's why I really love it and enjoy it, and then we just had the girls' state tournament, like, 2 weeks ago, um, that was really fun to go to those games and kinda um, just get ready for playoffs and all that stuff. Like now college hockey's in playoffs for women too, so it's a busy time of year.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Olivia, this has been so much fun getting to know you the person behind the content that gets put out. Why don't you give a shout out to where people can follow you?
Oh yeah, you can find me on Instagram at Olivia Kristen King with a K, my middle name. And then you can find me on TikTok too at Olivia Kristen King with the underscore. Yeah, there's links to all my different things I do, my podcast. You can find my podcast on my Instagram. And thank you so much for having me on. I really
Of course.
appreciate it.
Yes, this has been fun. And I look forward to talking to you again sometime.
Love it. Thank you.